Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul.
Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul.
Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking.
Sun is a rising in my soul.
Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul.
Good morning and welcome everyone to Whiteberry Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Jillian Lampert, serving on your board of directors. We are a congregation in the free faith tradition, a community of youth, adults, and children dedicated to pluralism in the spiritual search and ethics grounded in action. Our mission is to grow our souls and serve the world in love. Service participants today include Reverend Sarah Goodman, Nico Van Ostrand, and Reverend Victoria Safford, supported by Anna Garris and Aaron Scott. Music today is from the WBUUC Choir, directed by Thaxter Cuneo, Craig Hansen, Carol Coette, the Harmonia Women's Ensemble, and Mary Duncan. Today, after the service at 11:15, we hope that you will join us for Cyber Social Hour. It's a fun way to meet others, see old friends, and share a little conversation in small facilitated groups. We'll put the Zoom link and easy instructions in the chat box. And if you are new to our congregation or visiting for the first time today, please join us for a brief welcome and orientation right after the service. Our ministers will be there to greet you and answer your questions. It's just a short 15-minute welcome, and we hope you'll come. That link will be in the chat box too. Finally, our auction committee invites you to donate an item or service for this year's online auction. The deadline for entering your donation is next Sunday, November 22nd. See the link to the auction website in the chat box. We're glad you're here. Welcome to our church.
Come in. Come into this space which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this space where we can heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this space where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this space. Together, we make it a holy space. Evan Boyd and Tina Frontera will light the chalice.
Good morning. I'm Evan Boyd, and my wife Tina Frontera will light the chalice. The theme this month is Reformation, the practice of acting out. I light the chalice in memory of John Lewis, who died this year and is known for his non-ending pursuit of equality and justice. He is well known for his statement, "Get into good trouble." 5 things he taught us: Vote always. Your vote matters. It's your most powerful tool for change. 2, never too young to make a difference. His goal was to see young people in America feel the spirit of the 1960s and find a way to get in the way. 3, become a racial equity broker. A broker speaks up and speaks out, stands in the gap, and becomes an advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. 4, never give up. He taught us persistence, that when a person has transformative ideas, they should not taper those ideas. And 5th, speak truth to power. Speak up, speak out, get in the way. He often quoted his grandfather who said, "When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something. You have to do something. Again, get into good trouble." Tina will now light the chalice. With peace and compassion, welcome to our service.
Join me for our opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Join us now in singing, "Strong is what we make each other."
Strong is what we make each other. Strong is what we make each other. Flowing through me, flowing through you. Birthing life, birthing life. Pain and vision intertwining. Pain and vision intertwining, flowing through me, flowing through you, birthing life, birthing life. Love and justice guide our journey. Love and justice guide our journey. Flowing through me, flowing through you, birthing life, birthing life.
This month's theme of outrage for me comes up when I run into injustice or something that's not fair. And I admit I've been in a near constant state of outrage for some time now, because the things that I hold holy have been consistently harmed. The only way that my outrage is sustainable is when I have others to help me hold it. And I recognize too that the gifts I have to offer and the things that I hold holy might be a little different from the other people in my community. And that's what makes mutual aid and community care work. With that in mind, I adapted this morning's story, inspired by an Aesop fable about a grasshopper and some ants, and a story by Leo Leone about a mouse named Frederick. And it goes something like this. One fall day, as Squirrel gathered nuts for the long winter ahead, she spotted 3 creatures lounging on the hillside. "Excuse me," she said politely. "What are you doing? Don't you know it's time to gather food for winter?" "Oh," said Vole, "we don't need to do that. Anyway, each of us is busy." "Busy with what?" Squirrel asked. "What could you possibly be doing that is more important than gathering food?" "Well," said Rabbit, "I'm gathering stories. It's really very hard work. If I don't gather the stories, who will tell them when the winter comes?" "I'm collecting smiles. Please leave me alone so I can focus on noticing every single smile I see." "If I don't collect the smiles, who will remind us of happiness when the winter comes?" said Mouse. "I'm catching warmth. And to be frank, you're not being very warm right now. If I don't catch warmth, who will defend us from the cold winter storms? Said Vole. You all don't make any sense. If you don't gather food, how will you eat? You know what? Fine. If you want to have hungry bellies all winter, that's your business. And Squirrel huffed away, shaking her head at Rabbit, Mouse, and Vole, lying around when there was so much food to gather and so little time before the snow would come. Then, as it does every year, the winter came and the snow began to fall and all of the animals went into their homes. Squirrel settled in, sure that she had enough food to last through the winter and maybe even extras. She ate when she was hungry and never worried about food. But as the days and weeks went on, she realized she was feeling lonely. It wasn't very fun reading the same books over and over again. She wasn't looking forward to waking up tomorrow and cleaning the kitchen again, even though she cleaned it yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. But at least her belly was full. One day, with big fluffy snowflakes falling all around, there was a knock at the door. Hello, it's your neighbors, Rabbit, Mouse, and Vole. Can we please come in? We are hungry and we hope you have some food to share. Squirrel rolled her eyes. I knew those three would regret not gathering food for winter. Now I will have to share some of my food with them, the food I worked so hard to gather. But Squirrel knew she couldn't just leave Rabbit, Mouse, and Vole outside with empty tummies. So she invited them in and gave them each an acorn to munch on. When they had finished eating, Squirrel felt a little awkward. Great, now they've eaten some of my food. How do I ask them to leave without hurting their feelings? Maybe they'll just leave on their own. But instead, Rabbit sat down by the fire. You know what, Squirrel? That meal was tasty. It reminds me of one time last summer with my whole bunny family. And Rabbit launched into a long tale, and soon Squirrel found her imagination wandering alongside Rabbit's words, sweeping her away from the cold, lonely winter. Mouse and Vole sat on the rug with Squirrel, both clearly engrossed in the story. Squirrel never wanted the story to end, but it did, and Squirrel felt a little sad at the thought of her guests leaving. Hey, Squirrel, look at this. Mouse was in the kitchen, tapping her toes and wiggling her arms around in a kind of dance. This is my full tummy, full heart dance. She tapped and wiggled her way around the whole kitchen and into the living room. Dance with me, Squirrel. Squirrel didn't really get the point of dancing right now, but with Rabbit and Vole's urging, she began tapping and wiggling along with Mouse. Soon Rabbit and Vole joined in, and Squirrel was smiling so big that her face hurt. She never wanted to stop dancing and smiling together. But the dance did come to an end, and Squirrel felt a little sad at the thought of her guests leaving. Hey, Rabbit, Mouse, Vole. To tell you the truth, I've been feeling kind of sad and bored, and even a little lonely in my house this winter, even with all of my food. I'm feeling a little sad right now, too, thinking of you three leaving again. Oh, Squirrel, can I give you a hug? Asked Vole. Yes, please, said Squirrel, and as Vole gave her a hug, Squirrel could feel all the warmth that Vole had gathered during the fall seeping into her. Thanks, Vole, Squirrel whispered. You can have as much warmth as you need, Vole said. I collected enough for everyone. Same with smiles, said Mouse. I have plenty of stories too, said Rabbit. Squirrel could feel a very peculiar, very wonderful feeling building up in her chest. You know what, she said. I have plenty of food to share too. Would you three like to stay all winter? I think it will be a better winter if we experience it together. Rabbit, Mouse, and Vole agreed, and the winter months soon melted away into spring. Squirrel couldn't imagine how she had gotten through the winters before with only food to sustain her. And between Squirrel's food, Rabbit's stories, Mouse's smiles, and Vole's warmth, none of the four friends ever struggled through winter again.
Friends, let's join together in a spirit of meditation, the spirit of rest and readiness that is the way of prayer. Draw deep the spirit of life, the breath of life, And be at home in your body, be at home in your home. Be at home and be among all of us together, even though apart, together always. Let's hold silence, just breathing now. Spirit of life, gentle us, gentle us. Soften the sharp edges of our expectations of each other and ourselves. We are bearing and have borne so much since March, loss on loss of loved ones, livelihood, and all the simple interlacing ordinary patterns that wove us into being and belonging. Lives that we now know were lovely in their comings and their goings, their greetings and goodbyes. See you tomorrow, we said every day, but now we know we won't and can't greet anyone, touch anyone, take for granted anyone, not a single one anymore. Gentle us, Spirit. Soften the sharp edges of our expectations, all our demands of ourselves and each other. There is no one not lonely, not grieving, not scared, no one not exhausted, not worried for winter and homesick for the past. May our kindness fall from us freely, gently, like snow, shawling down patience, forgiveness, forbearance, enfolding the shoulders, tired and tense, of loved ones and strangers, and even ourselves in some kind of blanket, some kind of gesture, some kind of blessing of love. Amen. Let's hold silence one more time. Into the holy vessel of this silence and out of it, I invite you to speak aloud or in a whisper the names of all the people that you're holding in your heart today. We hold all of them, and we hold those who are sick in body or in mind, those struggling now with chemical addiction and mental illness and anxiety, those struggling just generally to stay aloft. Hold the people who care for us, nurses and clinicians, doctors, teachers, grocery workers, trash workers, everybody upon whom our lives depend. Hold the people of this congregation and everyone they love in care. Amen.
Once a month, our Sunday offering is dedicated to community partners whose work we are honored to support. Here's Steve Goranson with an announcement about our work with Solid Ground in White Bear Lake.
Hi, Steve Goranson here. I want to tell you about Solid Ground, the nonprofit that's been very close to our church ever since it was founded 31 years ago. Solid Ground provides supportive housing to families who've been homeless. Imagine what a transformation it must be to have a home after you've been living in shelters or in churches or on the street. But it's the supportive part of supportive housing that makes Solid Ground special. They have parenting classes, help with employment and education, dialectical behavior therapy, and after-school tutoring for kids. Most families stay for 2 years and then transition out to regular housing with support and guidance from Solid Ground. I've been volunteering there for 10 years, and I can tell you it really works and makes a profound difference in the lives of so many people. Please join me in making a generous donation to Solid Ground, because every family needs a home.
First reading is from Mary Oliver, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. The second reading is from Sean Parker Dennison, How to Survive the Apocalypse. First, learn to listen. Not only for enemies around corners in hidden places, but for the faint footsteps of hope and the whisper of resistance. Hone your skills, aim your heart toward kindness, and stockpile second chances. Under the weight of destruction, we will need the strong shelter of forgiveness and the deeper wells that give the sweet water of welcome. We have a place for you. When the world ends, we must not add destruction to destruction, not accept a beggar's pardon to fight death with more death. In order to survive the apocalypse, any apocalypse at all, we have to give up the counterfeit currency of self-sufficiency, the mistaken addiction to competition, the lie that the last to die has somehow survived.
There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side we also may view. The storm and its fury broke today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. Clouds and storms will in time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear.
Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way, if we keep on the sunny side of life.
Let us greet with a song of hope each day. Though the moment be cloudy or fair, let us trust in each other always, with courage, compassion, and care.
Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way, if we keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way, if we keep on the sunny side of life.
Hi. This week has been a roller coaster, let me tell you. I was exhausted after the waiting and anticipation and finally the payoff of knowing who won the election last week. After, the letdown of all those emotions had me wanting to find a quiet place to lay my head down for a while. I wanted so badly to find a sunny spot and soak up the last rays of unseasonably warm weather, to hold my bones, to fortify me for the coming winter. I would curl up in the grass, briefly green again, and put my face into the sun and memorize its warmth. I imagined and then considered how quickly that stillness would have been shattered by the noise of my children screeching in joy and the 90-pound lab jumping and barking, knocking us all down. Interrupted by the meow of the cat in the window, jealous that we're outside without him. Instead, we went to the park, and I sat on a bench next to my mom, and we pushed the baby in the swing as the preschooler slid down the twisty slide, and it was good enough. One last unexpected taste of summer. Better than good enough. It was sustaining. And then, wouldn't you know it, bam, a snowstorm blew in, and I needed every last ray to keep me in good spirits. Winter is here, my friends. It's here to stay. As I realized that I hadn't done the shopping for the week, it dawned on me to ask, am I prepared for winter in a pandemic? As we watch the state of the nation as our people in power shift, as we watch the state of the nation as cases of COVID skyrocket around us, as we watch the world warm, giving us 75 degrees in November, it dawns on me to ask, are we prepared for what's coming? Where do we go when our personal resources are slim? How do we keep ourselves afloat if our family connections aren't enough? What do we need to do to prepare ourselves for what's coming next? Now, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying that I think bad things are coming. I'm actually hopeful that the president-elect will be able to turn some things around to keep our country afloat. But neither am I naive enough to think that the work is done, that we can stop working for justice. As Victoria shared in our reading from Sean Parker Dennison, the way to survive the apocalypse is to listen for hope and the whisper of resistance, to hone your skills, aim your heart towards kindness, and stockpile second chances. The beginning of the shutdowns in March, folks started stockpiling goods, cleaning supplies, toilet paper, bottled water. Many of us had trouble finding stuff we needed and blamed it on the folks hoarding goods, those preppers. And sure, there was some of that, but in reality, it was a breakdown in the supply. The toilet paper rolls for office buildings that no one was in couldn't suddenly become toilet paper for us to use at home. I bet the preppers, the survivalists, already had all the supplies they needed to stockpile long before March. In fact, in doing my research, I found that they for sure were ready for the pandemic. I didn't realize what a culture, what an industry is built around folks who are preparing for an unknown future. According to historian Philip Lammy, survivalism is a loosely structured yet pervasive belief system and set of practices focusing on disaster preparedness. Survivalists stockpile water, canned goods, medical supplies, and guns. Still others purchase isolated rural property, enroll in survival training programs, or belong to survivalist communities or organizations. Survivalists are people who are prepared to survive devastation. Preppers are not just stockpiling goods, but actively constructing new architecture for disaster. There are people creating whole communities of underground bunkers with all the luxuries of home. I found out about all this in the scholarly article called Doomsday Preppers and the Architecture of Dread by Bradley Garrett. He goes on to explain that in modern preppers, the inability to know which disaster is being prepared for or at what scale, coupled with the perceived inevitability of catastrophe, has created the palpable effect of dread that preppers are acting on. Dread differs from anxiety in that it's about the future rather than the present, and differs from fear because it stems from a danger not immediately present or even discernible. And many preppers are not prepping for an apocalyptic event. They're simply interested in securing nutrition, hydration, shelter, security, hygiene, and medicine during medium to long-term periods of infrastructural breakdown. The collapse of supply lines, international travel and trade routes, economic systems, and social order during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic is a prime example of the kind of breakdown preppers were anticipating and had prepared for. The majority of contemporary prepping is not predicated on fringe ideologies, but is built around precautionary fears of disaster aligned with areas of relatively popular political sentiments. Wow, it's a lot. So what I learned was that survivalists are motivated by outrage at the systems that are not able to protect us. They believe that the only way to hold what is holy is to build their own society and culture separate from the established structures of the current society. Preppers and survivalists are motivated by a fear of an unknown future. Not only do they stockpile supplies, but they do extensive and elaborate planning for what we cannot begin to understand. Garrett says, the incalculable dread outside the blast door can be rendered calculable inside the bunker through careful preparation and planning. I've definitely had a bias against survivalists and preppers. In my worldview, acting from fear is unhealthy and dangerous. And yet, if we look closely, many preppers are using creativity and imagination to find ways to survive beyond the current structures of society. They're using ingenuity and newer technology to build carbon neutral, biodome-like condos underground. They're thinking of how to have a smaller footprint on the planet, but not because they want to reverse the effects of climate change. Instead, they want to hide out from the world until climate change has reshaped it into something less terrifying. I honor their creativity, but question their thesis. Because what most survivalists have done is give up on the current structures of society entirely, which is not something I'm willing to do. I want to apply the creative imagination to fixing what's already here rather than giving up on it. I know that we can make improvements to the world, hold our governmental bodies accountable to the needs of the people, and push our governments to repair, replace, and expand infrastructure and safety nets to keep society and the earth from getting to a point of collapse. So as we come into this period of history, a lame duck period, which seems to many to be a period out of our control, we have to consider, what can we control? How can we prepare for the future? How can we build support networks and make sure that we have access to things and experiences that help us to stay healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, interpersonally healthy? So let's be you preppers for a minute and make a list of things that will help us as individuals get through winter in a worsening pandemic. Stop watching, reading, taking in so much news. Instead, search for content that makes you smile, that makes you laugh so hard that tears roll down your face, content that makes your heart warm. Take care of your body. Eat yummy food, drink more water, move around in ways that make you feel good. Make sure to have really good masks that are comfortable and fit right. Bonus if you like how they look or what they say on them. Stock up on lovely soap and lotion to keep our hands and bodies clean and moisturized through the winter dry times. Get your home office, or home classroom cozy and comfortable. Do you need a new pair of slippers? Do you need a new chair? A Snuggie? Connect with loved ones while keeping your distance, because there's nothing now that can keep us apart except our need to stay apart. I also want us to consider how we survive the upcoming winter communally. How do we hold together as the people, as UUs, as Americans, as humans on this planet? How do we prepare ourselves for the coming changes? Even extreme survivalists know that we are not able to do this alone. If we want to survive through extreme or long-term destabilization, they know that we have to organize in communities. They organize in underground bunker condos, and how do we come together as a community to make it through? In his article, Meeting Chaos with Calm, How to Prepare for a Potential Coup, Mateo Nube speaks of his personal experience of living through several military coups in his growing up years in Bolivia. What helped him as a child was the way that the adults stuck to their principles, stayed calm, and moved forward to make change. In his article, he gives concrete advice on how to make it through when it seems like everything is chaos. Keep calm, be prepared, take care of one another. He writes, in comic books, it's the superheroes that defeat fascism. In the real world, common folk do, bound together by purpose, care, and a deep love for better society. Caring for each other, loving one another, soothing each other, all will be paramount in coming weeks. Calm doesn't mean passive. Along with organizing and resisting astutely, actively living into the community will be more important than ever. I am so grateful to Nico, who shared their story with us today. Nico reminds us that there is more to survival than individual physical needs. We all need community to share fun, imagination, and comfort. I wonder, what is your skill or tool or expertise that you bring with you into Squirrel's Den to help everyone survive the winter? It's like the game that some people play. What skill do you have that will help everyone through the zombie apocalypse? My first thought has always been that I know how to knit. I have a brown thumb, so no growing food. I don't know how to make a combustion engine, but I can knit scarves and hats and probably socks and mittens, maybe even sweaters if we need them. I kind of felt like I was going to let you all down though. And then I considered it longer. I actually have a lot of skills that would be needed in a crisis. I bet you do too. I'm great at listening, at giving caring hugs. I somehow find a way to stay calm through other people's chaos. I can play with the children, and with my theater background, I can sing songs and tell stories of all the books I've read around a campfire. As a former Girl Scout, I do actually know how to make a decent campfire too. I realize that my role in the apocalypse, as it is every day, is to bring warmth and caring, to bring humor and kindness. My role is to help us all find ways to live our lives a little better and make each day easier. Thinking back to little over a year ago, I told you all then that it would all be okay, even though I didn't know for sure. I said, even if everything is not okay for humanity, everything will still be okay for our planet. And if everything is not okay for our planet, everything will still be okay with our solar system, the Milky Way, the universe. And if it's not, somewhere, somehow, it will be okay. because the end is never the end. It's always another beginning. So let's find ways to live into our calmest selves, to bring our gifts, to share with each other, and to help all of us make it through to a new beginning. So be it. See to it. And sing with me. How can I keep from singing? Or otherwise known as My Life Goes On, an endless song, number 108 in the hardback gray hymnal.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Please join me in our closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. If you're not receiving our email news, go to our website and sign right up. This is the best way, and in fact, the only way, to find out what's going on at church. At 11:15 today, join us for Cyber Social Hour. It's actually just half an hour of easy conversation in small groups. And if you're new or visiting today, you're welcome to join a brief welcome orientation starting in just a few minutes, hosted by Reverend Jack and Reverend Sarah. Links to this meeting and to the social hour are both in the chat box right now. Friends, we are sending love to you today from White Bear Lake, Woodbury, St. Paul, Minneapolis, and from 328 Maple Street in Matamidi, Minnesota. Farewell and stay well, friends, from all of us. So be it. See to it. Amen.
In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times there will always be singing